This podcast is brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Robots Radio. Games, lore, stories, community. Just press play. Welcome to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, the podcast where we explore the amazing universe of the Elder Scrolls.
You found my razor. Good. Can you feel its hunger? Can you feel its frustration? Now I will make it again what it once was, what it shall always be. Draw a line of blood across the land in the name of Mehrunes Dagon.
So spooky, so spooky. It's Mehrunes Dagon Day, everybody. Welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. This is your host, Tom, or Robots. I'm here with my good buddy, Lotus. Lotus of Doom. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm glad to be back this week.
Yeah. You missed out on our little big chat. We had a bunch of people join us.
But it was enjoyable to listen to because, like I always joke, I was like, I actually enjoy listening when I'm also not on them. So the fact that I was packing for vacation, I was like, oh boy, I got a Lorecast to listen to with everybody else and not me. It's like, sweet.
Yeah. So
thank you, everybody, for entertaining me last week.
It's like going back a few years before you were a regular on the show.
Exactly.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you got to enjoy it. We had a lot of fun. We missed you, but We're back to the regular episodes this week with another Daedric Prince episode. We're up to the M's, so Mehrunes Dagon is the next one, and
indeed,
boy oh boy, there's a lot of stuff about Mr. Dagon. I'm just going to call him Mr. Dagon.
7-hour episode. Oh, wait, no, we're going to condense this a little.
Yeah, he's not only been like the primary Daedric Prince of one of the games in Elder Scrolls Oblivion, he's also showed up in the most recent questline until later this week when High Isle releases.
Yeah, he's essentially the main antagonist for the Gates of Oblivion from last year in Blackwood.
Yeah. Elder Scrolls Online. So
Elder Scrolls Online, right? Not to mention he has 2 base game dungeons that he's basically the main antagonist with in Elder Scrolls Online with City of Ash. He's also the main antagonist in Elder Scrolls Battlespire. He's very prominent in the series as the one you need to be defeating.
Yeah, well, he's all about destruction. Right. So it would make sense that that's something you don't want to happen. So you have to fight against him.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because from that starting audio clip alone, his voice is so different in the different games.
Yes. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that. There's actually 2 main voice actors. I always like to do the voice actors. We'll talk about that at the end. But yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So it's changed quite a bit. And actually, while we're doing this, I actually wish I had thought of this beforehand. But the problem is it's so difficult dealing with Battlespire. I think he might be uncredited in Battlespire.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is a totally different voice and it is a total cluster of just voice overlays. So he sounds ridiculous in that game.
Yeah, but everybody kind of sounds a little bit ridiculous.
That's a valid point. Everybody kind of sounds ridiculous. Unless you're Silas, the main character from Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard, all of the other voice actors in those 2 spin-off games are abhorrent, unfortunately.
Yeah, like the Clavicus Vial still rings in my ears.
Yes. Yeah. Silas is the one exception, as that dude's voice actor is awesome.
Well, hey.
1 out of 66 ain't bad.
Wow. Well, here, let's go into the details here because first of all, I guess I should preface this. A few things. First of all, there's a lot of stuff about Mehrunes Dagon. We should probably come back around to him as well as some of these other Daedric princes and go into some more of the specific details. Today, we're going to touch on the basics, the who he is, what he seems to be doing, the cults that have sprung up around him, his items, and then the realm of Oblivion itself, where he lords over, and then a few extra little things at the end. So that's going to be plenty to cover one episode. But one of the things I just want to show this on the video version and the streaming version. If you're joining us on the stream, it's Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Then you're going to be treated to this as well. I shared it on the socials and on Discord, but I was doing some work on Mehrunes Dagon in a program that allows you to generate AI images, AI generated images using just text strings. And I posted a few of these earlier today. I did some new ones. This one I'm going to show on the screen right here is Mehrunes Dagon as a cute cartoon. This is what the AI generated. I don't understand how any of this is Mehrunes Dagon, although it seemed to understand what I was doing previously with the other images. But then I also had to, I went a little nuts on this. Mehrunes Dagon in a tutu. And this is what it did. These things are like Lovecraftian horrors.
That's a lot to parse out right there.
Wearing tutus, like they're dancing. So I just wanted to share that. If you're interested in seeing those images, follow my Twitch at robots_radio, or my Twitter, and sorry, TW words, and then also on the Discord. I'll share those on there. But anyway, let's get into it. So we have Mehrunes Dagon, formerly the exalted and most puissant lord. I don't really know the word puissant, but that's interesting. I think I might Google that in a second.
Sure.
Garant of Dagon, Mehrunes, also called the Black Daedra Lord, Prince of Ambition, Prince of Disaster and Destruction, Master of Razors, Sovereign of Destruction, the Flame Tyrant, the Father of Cataclysm, the Flame Father, the Merpride's End, and known to the Khajiit as Mehrunes. Because
I really like Merpride's End. That one specifically is very cool, just because it's more of the we've mentioned on the show in episodes back the aspects of him, and it's one of the ones where, since most of the time the Daedric princes are attributed to being like not so great,
yeah,
Mehrunes has that bit where there's hope, because with destruction comes growth again. And a lot of this kind of coincides with, the the Aliens originally were kind of just oppressing all of the humankind, and theoretically it would be Dagon that would inspire the change that theoretically could have caused the Alessian dynasty to free all of them. So it's just kind of neat that one of theoretically his names kind of almost nods at something like that. I just kind of like that one.
Yeah. As with all of these, everybody has different perspectives on who the Daedric princes are, if they're useful or not, if they're beneficial or not.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of all of that going on. And so, of course, the same thing with Mehrunes Dagon, which is part of why these cults have formed up around him, because of the beliefs of where he came from and what his goals actually are. And of course, all of that is kind of vague, because Mehrunes is a Daedric prince, and understanding the actual motivations behind Daedric princes is never so easy.
Right.
So, yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about this a little bit. Mehrunes Dagon, you probably remember from Elder Scrolls Oblivion, although now that is years old. What is that? 15 longer? 16, 17 years old now at this point?
Whoa, came out in 2006. So it's 16, I guess.
16 years ago. It's still a game that's worth playing. It's one of the games that
absolutely,
like Morrowind can be difficult to get into because of just some of the mechanics and the fact that the game is so old. Oblivion, on the other hand, it's still old, but it's definitely playable by modern standards. It just
absolutely.
It just feels a little aged in the way it does some of the things, but it absolutely is playable. So go back and play that if you'd like. And in Oblivion,
it's also my favorite overall soundtrack in the series.
Oh yeah, the music is so good.
It's fantastic in Oblivion.
Yeah. So in that series, you have Mehrunes Dagon, who is attempting to open these portals into the world in order to destroy the world, something.
Yeah.
And at least that's the vague perspective of what's going on. And in that game, you have the Order of the Mythic Dawn, who are this secret society of Daedric cultists who have been working together in order to open these portals into Oblivion. Now, the Mythic Dawn, their leader is Mankar Cameron, and we've talked about Mankar Cameron on previous episodes. And
indeed,
and he uses in fact, he wrote the commentaries on the Mysterium Xarxes.
Indeed,
and is kind of the guy behind the assassination of the Emperor and all the other wackiness that's going on.
Yeah.
So that's most of the info that I'd like to go into about the Mythic Dawn on this episode.
If we want to do something on them as a cult, I think they actually, especially if you have their possible predecessors, the Waking Flame from Elder Scrolls Online, we could almost do something entirely on them as an episode, as opposed to filling out this, which Mehrunes Dagon already has so much that we're going to try to squish into a reasonable episode.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the other group I wanted to mention is the Order of the Waking Flame. And we learn about them in the newest storyline in Elder Scrolls Online.
Right.
Unless you're listening to this 4 days from now on PC when IO comes out. But they're kind of predecessors to the Mythic Dawn. They again were Daedric cultists who believed in Mehrunes Dagon. But their belief was specifically that Mehrunes Dagon was created by the Magna Gi to unmake the flawed creation of Mundus. In accordance with Magnus's plans. And there's a whole lot of wacky lore that's come out around this and some theories that have spawned from this.
Right.
Just in the last year or so, because when I first did the Mehrunes Dagon episode, that stuff hadn't been written yet.
Sure, the Waking Flame wasn't filled out yet. That's new lore added to the series with the Elder Scrolls Online.
Right. So, of course, the Waking Flame worked to try to bring about the end of things and Dagon coming back into the world and all of that stuff. But there's also these like sub theories about Mehrunes Dagon potentially being Magnus himself and coming back into the world. Like Magnus is the one who left the world and went back to Aetherius and of course created the hole in the sky, and those who followed him created other holes, making the stars, all of that stuff. And we have to bring the wacky lore episodes back. Yeah, Joshua in chat, we might have to leave some of this for a wacky lore episode, but I wouldn't put it past the Waking Flame for some of their cult members to be thinking things like this. And therefore they're motivated to do all of these terrible things in order to bring about the end of things, because that's what they think is supposed to happen.
Right.
So you've got all of that kind of stuff going on. But for the most part, we know Mehrunes Dagon as the Lord of darkness and destruction and change, and the one who ushers in change. And so, of course, there's a lot of theories around the idea that like maybe the end of the series will have something to do with him. And this goes back to the whole idea of like the breaking of the towers and all of that, the destruction and change that might bring about. Do you have any other thoughts on any of this stuff? Because it seems very crucial to the main kind of overarching story of the series.
It is, and one of the things about Mehrunes Dagon, which is interesting because relating to the bit you had mentioned about possibly his tie-in to being created by the Magna Gi type of deal, is it's not when you think of destruction and all this stuff. It's and when you go to the Deadlands in the games, which you do frequent, probably more than any other plane of Oblivion, I believe. Mm-hmm. It's a hellscape, like literally stereotypical hellscape type of deal.
Yeah, fire and lava and heat vents.
And he's a four-armed giant red demon. Okay, so it's a very, very stereotypical demon type deal. But at the same time, when you think of destruction, a lot of times it's in a negative connotation. And for the most part, since you're fighting against it, he's portrayed as like problematic. But there's also the aspect of destruction of something bad isn't necessarily bad. Like, you can destroy something bad, which then causes something good. But when the idea of Dagon is constantly just destruction, it's almost like I had made reference to, like, okay, the destruction of the aliens kind of controlling humans. Well, there's question, how Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion ends. Was that intended to destroy the Septim Dynasty? Like, was there more to it? Like, is that in and of itself a problem that theoretically to some could be viewed as bad? Again, to the Mythic Dawn, clearly it was. But like, he has the potential in the series to overturn both good and bad things, which I think makes him a little more unique than some of the other princes, because he's definitely portrayed as evil a lot of times, but it isn't necessarily always the case. Although, in many cases it is, because it's just like, torture racks and all these horrible things. Like, okay, well, that's probably not great for anybody, but
there is the demonic imagery, which, kind of sways an opinion, but
they do need to give you an enemy to fight. But it's just interesting that his end goal, maybe not the means to get there, could also be advantageous to, whether you want to call it the Kalpa that we're currently in or whatever, or certain eras that exist. It's just interesting that he has the potential to be both good and bad, whether or not he's even intending it, just by toppling what's established.
Yeah, well, it all comes down to his goals are not anybody else's, and they don't necessarily coincide with any of the mortals' goals. Exactly. And so therefore, if you happen to coincide and benefit from what he's doing, then you might view it as good. And if you don't, you might view it as bad. And
it's interesting because he almost perpetually is helping the underdog by toppling whoever's in first, because
Right.
Which is good until you've taken first, and then suddenly now he's a problem. So, you can both be benefit and have a problem with him at certain points in history as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the other things I wanted to discuss was the Mysterium Xarxes, this mysterious book that Mankar Cameron translated. And I love the imagery of the Mysterium Xarxes, all the Daedric, font text, I guess the runes or whatever they're called. I mean, it looks like a demonic book, and you can tell that they got a lot of influences from some of these other demonic like books in fantasy.
Sure.
But here, I want to read the section from the UESP on this. Little is known of the contents of the Mysterium Xarxes outside the alleged translations given by Mankar Cameron's commentaries on the Mysterium Xarxes. While the commentaries were known to be used in the Third Era to surreptitiously recruit members into Dagon's cult, the Mythic Dawn, they also contain a peculiar account of the prince's origins. And this is part of what I was alluding to. According to the commentaries, the Magna Gi secretly created Mehrunes Dagon, quote, in the very bowels of Lig. Lig is one of those words that hasn't come up too much in our conversations, but maybe we need to pull Lig into one of these wacky, weird theories.
Yeah, that gets deep lore, written in uncertainty style stuff.
Yeah, we're going deep.
It's a great episode on it, so I would suggest if you're interested in a deep dive into Lig, check out Written in Uncertainty. Aramithius goes really into it for one episode.
Yeah, so what it says here, though, and this is just kind of a quick little snippet to kind of at least give you something. Lig, it is claimed, is an adjacent place, a sort of parallel version of Tamriel, and the domain of a deity known as the upstart who vanishes. Lig, the Mundex Terran, who once ruled by Drow kings, I always call them the Dreg Kings. Pronunciation is not our forte, as you guys know.
Yeah.
From the 19th and 9 seas, and that is, quote, 19 and 9 seas, who waged endless wars against each other's, quote, slave oceans. This, we're getting Kirkbridean.
I was about to say, we're taking the brakes off the Kirkbridean train right now.
When you're talking about words that are just kind of squished together like slave oceans, it's either Kirkbride or we're an indie band from the early 2000s.
Right. Well, the second we get
Slave
into
Ocean is my new band.
9 and 9 seas, it's like, all right, well, we don't need to just say things in a flowery way for the sake of it, but fine. Again,
Right.
It's just a way of writing.
Right. Welcome to the show. We're Slave Oceans. Thanks for coming out. All right. So then it goes on and says Dagon was created to be a prince of good and was imbued him. The text here needs to be updated. It was imbued with Oblivion's most precious asset, hope. The prince began a revolution, throw down Lig, and cracked his face. This is quoted. Cracked his face. He let the lowly slaves know free will and stirred them to violence against their masters. His Red Legion overthrew the tyrant Dregs, toppled the towers of Kim El Garjig.
Perfect.
Kirkbridean, absolutely. And that is in all caps, which means if we know Kirkbride's stuff, that they may actually reference other things, or Garjig might be an anachronism for something, or
it could be.
Anagram. Is that the right word? Not anachronism. Anagram.
No, I think you mean anagram. Yeah.
Anagram. It goes on and said, destroyed great cities and slaughtered the Templars of the upstart. Hope spread like a brush fire as the world was set free. Hence his title of the Sea's Flame Redeemer. Regardless of the veracity of this account, the tome played a role in the assassination of Uriel Septim and his heirs, starting the Oblivion Crisis. So all of this was already written during the time of Elder Scrolls Oblivion. This was part of it. But what's so interesting about the Mysterium Xarxes is we don't have a full translation. We just have the commentaries on it by Mankar Cameron. So there might be a whole lot of other crazy stuff in there. And the question about, why was it written? When was it written? All of that stuff is something that we would have to dig into deeper on another episode. But
like on literally the Mysterium Xarxes itself.
Right. But all of that, what this does is it gives us some insight into who Mehrunes Dagon might actually be. And like you're saying, this idea of change and destruction may be more inherent to who he is or was when all of these things went down. If this is an actual story of something that literally happened or not. Right. So, or is it all propaganda? Is it a way to take,
and it's just, because also one of the other things that he's known for is ambition. Yes. So it's like, there's also that. So clearly there's a goal in mind, but so much of it is designed around destruction. It's like, okay, well, is there a further goal beyond just destroying what's directly in front of you, when ambition is also one of his main pillars, so to speak?
Absolutely. So putting together, lying about something, putting together something that would motivate mortals to do his bidding totally doesn't seem beyond something that he would be willing to do.
Exactly.
And so you end up with these questions, right? But I don't know. I think it's cool. And he's well known across all of Tamriel. Yeah. All of the cultures have some impression of him, some sense of who he is. Either most of them don't worship him, but of course there are cults and groups that pop up. Do you have any other thoughts on any of this stuff before we move on?
No, I was going to say, I think that was a good way of just kind of touching on the fact that it's like, the same way you had mentioned, not a lot of people tend to follow him. He's definitely, one of the more well-known problematic Daedric princes in the grand scheme of Tamriel type of deal. And kind of for good reason, which in turn makes him a really good antagonist for the games.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's usually who he ends up being, is some sort of demonic force that needs to be stopped, because that's an easy thing to go, okay, this is bad, I will fight against it. Like, that's easy for the player character to kind of just go, demon thing wants to destroy, must stop. Like,
right, exactly.
It's a really easy justification. But if the nature of reality is more complex than it seems, then maybe there's more to it than we know. Rob in chat says, I'd say it's often both true and propaganda. It probably steering in a certain narrative. The main question I have about these concepts of Lig, these other alternate version of Tamriel where these things happened in the past, the idea that he has something to do with the creation and destruction of Kelpas comes up, the idea that he is somehow benefiting from that cycle and growing more powerful with each cycle. Like, all of these kinds of meta ideas that we've talked about, some of them. The big question here is that they can't all be accurate or true, or they have to be organized in a way where, you know, maybe Lig was a thing in a previous Kalpa, but isn't in this one. You know, like there's a lot of these other dynamics to all of that stuff that's just off on the periphery of what we do understand and what we have experienced in the games. There's so much of that stuff that some of it has to be interpreted. Some of it has to be symbolic. Some of it maybe is real, but for all of it to be real is overly complex and also just super weird. Like, how does it all fit together at the same time? Right. It just seems like it's too much. And that's my gut feeling on that stuff, but that doesn't mean none of it is real or didn't happen. You know, it's just it's just so there's just so much out there. It's like not everything can have an alternate meaning or an alternate origin than the thing that we think it does. And like, there's just too much at that point.
Right. And that's, you know, that falls very much in line with the series as a whole, where things kind of remain ambiguous in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to nail down exact. It's just kind of like, here's some information, glean from it what you will. It really fits into a lot of the narrative to Mehrunes Dagon.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the basis of his character. That's most of what's going on. Of course, he rules over the realm of Oblivion, which we've been to a few times. The realm of the Deadlands, I should say, in Oblivion.
Yeah, but in Oblivion. No, I was going to say, in
the game Oblivion, you go to Oblivion. It's the Deadlands specifically. And you know, he's got a bunch of regular looking Daedric servants, but they're regular to us because they're the ones that we tend to see most often.
Right. They're the most common enemies that you're fighting when going to Oblivion.
Right. So Daedroth, Clan Fear, Watchers. Oh, and the Watchers are great. I have a Watcher pet in ESO. I love that little guy, like a little eyeball with the tentacles.
Yep.
The Scamps and Zivali, like all of these kind of regular demonic looking Daedra, and then weird, creepy animals.
He also, like, one of the other things that I figure is worth mentioning is there are clans that they were kind of touched on, and we'll only kind of touch on it, but there are clans that represent his different aspects, like ambition and destruction and stuff like that, which were very prominent in Elder Scrolls Battlespire, because you actually kind of use that against each other, because the different clans, much like Daedra, in all aspects that you encounter them, kind of fight against each other to gain a foothold of like superiority. And it's mentioned, you know, because of the coins they kind of used as a promo thing. It was actually the coins from the different ambitions. Well, in Battlespire, there's actually a couple different groups. I believe they're his adopted children. Let me just browse through this real cool. Oh, they are. So the Zivali Moaf and Phaedra Shaddai are actually two of them. But they're basically like his generals, so to speak. Which is interesting because they kind of represent his different aspects. And if any one of them gets kind of too far out of line, which is spoilers for the 11 of you other than myself who played Battlespire, you kind of actually gain the benefit of some of them in certain scenarios, because if his ambition's getting too out of control, the other's trying to rein him in a little bit, because they're like, well, no, this side of it's getting too good. So like, we're going to get outed, which is interesting because it's almost like there's these sections of him without actually being him himself, which help control him, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get some of that in the latest Elder Scrolls Online stuff.
You do too, where it's without spoiling it, because that is very new. There is again more with the ambitions and stuff like that. Parts of him are kind of separated to kind of corner off his power in certain ways that he can utilize it later. And I won't go more into that because the story is actually very interesting, and I strongly suggest you play through it.
And there's a really cute Daedrat character.
Oh my god! Aarox the Destroyer.
Aarox the Destroyer. I know this isn't a huge spoiler. You meet a character named,
because he's the fan favorite. He's all over their website.
Yeah, you meet a character named
a house guest at points.
Aarox the Destroyer, who is a Daedra who has been like, he's a regular like humanoid Daedra who had done terrible things and was put into the body of a dead Daedrat.
It is
so he's like a little guy,
easily one of the best characters,
but he still has the same personality, right? So he's still like, oh, they will rue the day they crossed Aarox the Destroyer. Like, yeah,
and he's
great.
Again, one of the best features is, all I can say is just make sure you keep Aarox around as much as you can in the story, because what you can help him do is pretty much one of the best things in game. I actually started laughing aloud while playing through it at one point. I was like, this is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty great. But other side note, you do come across some of these other Zivali and like these other humanoid Daedra who work for different clans, and they don't necessarily always get along with the other clans, but sometimes they work together, and but that's part of the storyline. So if you haven't played through that expansion, I'm sure it's going to be on sale or currently is on sale or something.
When High Isle drops,
Aarox the Mutilator.
Yes, Aarox the Mutilator. That's what it is. Not the Destroyer. Aarox the Mutilator. What do you call it? So when High Isle drops, assuming that it has worked like every other year, if you are subscribed to ESO Plus, it will roll the actual previous chapter in to your ESO Plus. So you will actually have it, assuming you have ESO Plus, as of Monday, I think it is.
Yeah, so you'll get to play it if you decide to do that.
Definitely worth a play. Also, the continuation goes into the Deadlands, where you go to the Deadlands and finish off the story. That was one of my favorite expansions in ESO so far.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's really cool and has a really great ending.
Yeah, and I feel like, and I've said this before on the show, I feel like people at ZeniMax must listen to our podcast, because there's definitely things that they did in this expansion that I was like asking for like 2 years before it came out, like, so maybe we have a little bit of influence. Thanks if we do, and if not, what a wonderful coincidence.
I was going to say, thank you for thinking like we do that.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, here we are. We're in the middle of the show. Let's take a quick break. We've got some Daedric artifacts to talk about and a little bit more. So we'll be right back.
The skies are marked with numberless sparks, each a fire, and every one a sign.
So it is the middle of the show, which means we have to thank our newest patrons, and we have a few. We have Nithrian and Shanola B. And I totally mangled that up.
Sounds good.
Carl H, Shia F, and Neil. Thank you so much for signing up in the last week. Holy crap, people! You guys are nuts. And then currently we have 93. We had some people drop off. They probably got the access to the original 90 episodes, listened through them, and then decided thanks so much, and time to go. And that's totally fine. In fact, I've told people on earlier episodes when I was making that change and kind of banked those episodes into the Patreon, like, that's the way to do it.
Just sub if you want those, and then unsub after.
Right,
like,
sub, fine. Download them, unsub. If that's all you want, that's totally fine.
Great. If that's why you're doing it, go for it.
Yeah, and if you do want to support the show and our ability to keep making these, and then you can stay sub for longer. We get lots of other things. And I have to call out our Daedric Princes, our tier 5 patrons. Gami Boy, wait. Oh, I don't have the where's their nicknames? I don't have their nicknames up. Kira C, Noodle Al Dente, and Riverwood Chicken. Most of them have names that are the same as what they have on other places. So anyway, thank you so much to you guys and for supporting the show. And we actually saw a post. Somebody posted their t-shirt. If you're tier 4 or higher, you get t-shirts every 3 months. And one of the most recent, the Azura t-shirt, looked really, really good. I love it when you guys post pictures of that stuff. But if we're helping you get through your workday, or if you want to just make sure that we keep doing these, then go to patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast and drop a few bucks and see what kind of stuff you can get, including ad-free episodes and this whole like 90 episode backlog that got kind of pushed to the side and is now on Patreon, is where it was just me before Lotus joined me. So all of that stuff's available if you guys want to help support the show. Also, We don't have any new reviews. I thought we had one, but this one we already read out. So if you'd like to support the show with some reviews and ratings, if you happen to listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or even if you listen somewhere else and you have accounts on those platforms, you can look us up and drop us a rating. It's a really, really easy way to help support the show. 5 stars is a huge help. And if you leave a review, then I'll read it out on a future episode of the show. So there you go. All right, let's get on with the rest of the show.
Yes, you're entirely brilliant. Conquering madness and all that. Blah, 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 blah.
Vivid in chat says, do not disrespect my boy Arox. Destroyer? Ha! Pathetic title. Who would call themselves Destroyer instead of something like Mutilator? It totally sounds like something Arox would say.
That actually really would.
I think Arox just joined our chat.
Right?
So we're to the artifacts. Lotus, I know this is one of your favorite things. Do you want to start us off? You want to pick one?
So I always like the artifacts. So originally I was going to say, because a lot of times we kind of just do these in, whatever order, but I'll use the first one. Okay. You know what? We're actually going to save my favorite one for last. We'll do that one at the end. All
right.
We had mentioned the Mysterium Xarxes.
Yeah, we've already talked about the Mysterium Xarxes.
We can kind of slide by that one.
Yep.
The one I wanted to bring up first is actually the Spear of Bitter Mercy, because we had just talked about it previously.
Yep.
So I figured that one might be worth just mentioning again real quick, because it's also sort of tied into Mehrunes Dagon.
Right. This is one that has those like vague origins and we're not really sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So this, again, we went more in depth on it last time. But one of the things that it's sort of attributed to is also it could be owned by Mehrunes Dagon. It kind of floats around. But that's one that's also attributed to him. What I would suggest we do next, because there's not an awful lot of information on it, because again, it's from Battlespire, because of course it is the Sword of the Moonreaver, which sounds really cool.
It does sound really cool.
It really does. And it's really, really just a generic broadsword, which is a downer for the really cool name. But it's a broadsword created by Mehrunes Dagon's own substance. It is believed that no other weapon is capable of harming Mehrunes Dagon, which is interesting, but relevant to Battlespire, because you need this sword in order to defeat him. You never really kill a Daedric prince, you just defeat them.
Right.
But during Dagon's invasion of the Battlespire during the Imperial Simulacrum, which is the case of Battlespire, the game itself, the sword is in the possession of a dark seducer bodyguard and paramour, which is interesting because you have to find this very specific dark seducer, which once you defeat her, you take the sword. She looks like any other dark seducer, but I guess
she's a special one.
She's a special one, sure. But yeah, then you get to take the sword, and when they reference it, the only thing capable of harming him, there's more to it, which I will go into at the very end. It's like a little lore bit that I'll toss in for the end, but basically you kind of surprise him with your secret MacGuffin. And he freaks out. He's like, oh, how'd you know that? And you just poke him once with the sword and he's immediately defeated. There is no climactic battle. It just hurls him in a ridiculous FMV and he explodes.
You just pop him like a giant balloon.
Pop him like a balloon. You deflate Mehrunes Dagon with the Sword of the Moonreaver.
That's great.
It looks generic. It sounds awesome. And apparently it's really badass if you actually use it.
It sounds cool. I mean, it's got a cool name.
It's got a cool name.
Do we know why Moonreaver, though?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
it probably just sounded really cool to the writers.
Probably.
I haven't the faintest idea.
Yeah, I don't either. So,
why?
So that's the Sword of the Moonreaver. Do you? It seems like you've got these kind of lined up. Do you have one?
I do. Next? I kind of have another one that is pretty common is Mehrunes Razor, which is from you can get it in Elder Scrolls for Oblivion. The Mehrunes Razor, also known as the Dagger of Final Wounds and the Bane of the Righteous and the Kingslayer, is a Daedric artifact created obviously by Mehrunes Dagon. The powerful ebony dagger has the ability to kill instantly, as there is a small chance that Dagon will claim the soul of those struck by the razor. It's Daedric in appearance and emblazoned with Daedric script and seemingly able to drink in light that hits it. So
awesome.
Again, very cool description. It's a pretty cool weapon in Elder Scrolls for Oblivion when you have it. Yeah. The only thing that is interesting is just the concept of this dagger.
Like sucking out the souls. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. So Mehrunes Razor, the thing about it that's kind of interesting, because it's a gameplay thing specifically. The dagger has a chance of killing instantly. Yes, stabbing somebody has a chance of killing them instantly.
Yeah, in a game though, you have HP and like all of that.
It's just funny to think about logistically, like not in game, but it's like, well, yeah, it's a dagger.
I mean, if somebody just came up and stabbed me, I might just die.
But in game, what it will do is it has a chance of just basically one-shotting your enemy. The only thing which I personally find hilarious about this, and it's not mentioned in the UESP, probably because it's a stupid little factoid, or maybe it's somewhere else. If you stab something with reflect with Mehrunes Razor,
oh god,
there is a chance that it will reflect the one shot on you, and it will one shot you instead.
That's hilarious.
I think it happened to me in the Shivering Isles expansion. Something had reflect on it, and I was like, die, and I like poked it, and it hit me and did like instant damage to me. I was like, crap.
And then you just slumped over on the ground.
Yeah,
it was
so
like, you're dead.
Yeah,
reload.
it can delete you instead. So never stab somebody that has reflect on.
Yeah, Vivid in chat says, wait, Mehrunes Raygun? And that's only in the Coda version of the games when they go to space.
It upgrades to a ray gun.
In that version. All right, where are we going next?
Okay, so the next two I have very little context for, other than these. The Ground Splitters are a pair of Sabatons associated with the Daedric Prince. Their enchantments reflect the creator's obsession with destruction. The artifact causes the wearer's strides to be capable comparable to that of a giant, despite the lack of significant weight. When not like, okay,
weird.
Like, what a bizarre. So basically, they're ultra. It makes me think of those iron boots from The Legend of Zelda.
Yes,
where you're just clomping around, just breaking stuff.
Yeah, and as soon and they when you wear them, they make you sink down the bottom of whatever water you're in or whatever.
Right.
But then as soon as you take them off, put them in your backpack, there's no weight.
Yeah,
they don't weigh anything anymore.
So they're only super heavy when you're wearing them. Yep. But yeah, those are the Ground Splitters, which is kind of odd. Those ones, interesting enough. It doesn't seem to imply that those are from any game, and I do not ever remember getting those.
I don't know specifically where they're from.
But I don't know what
here.
That's actually from in game.
I'm digging in a little bit more. Second era 582. This must be an ESO thing.
Yeah, it might just be a cosmetic thing then.
Yeah. Well, cool looking stuff.
Then there's the Deadland Hammer, which is yet another artifact. In the second era, it was found in the Darkpool mine by the Claw of Dagon?
By the Claws of Dagon.
Claws of Dagon.
And this isn't Dagon, D-A-G-O-N. It's Dagon, D-E-G-O-N. Yeah.
Which is a Khajiit cult dedicated to Mehrunes. When used with the right reagents, it was said to be capable of summoning iron atronachs. Physical contact with the hammer is reported to be uncomfortable and even harmful when you roll for an experience. All right, so it just makes you itchy. I don't know. It doesn't really
itchy.
Doesn't really say why.
Yes. Another weird item.
But again, that's another one that it's just like, okay. And then the final one, which is my favorite artifact of all of them, and why I kind of saved this one for last, just because I think this weapon is super badass, which is the Daedric Crescent, which is an artifact, but it's kind of artifacts because there used to be a lot of them. It has the power to paralyze those it strikes and puts heavy wear on the armor. So like a disintegration thing or like some type of, that's a great picture of it. That thing is just so cool. Yeah. It is a crescent double-sided blade.
With like a handle in the middle. So
with
think
a handle
like
in the middle.
Darth Maul, but with like curved blades.
Curved on both of them. Yeah. It looks really awesome. But it has also been known to create green balls of energy, but the effects are unknown. I'm guessing why that's listed in the UESP is the fact that there are weird green balls in the FMVs in Battlespire.
Oh, that's super weird. Yeah,
but they don't really explain it. There's a lot of stuff that
some graphic designer was just like, "This looks badass.
Dude, green balls look awesome.
Green balls flying around it. Check what I added onto this thing."
But it's like I don't know if there's something. Obviously, there's nothing more deciphered from it yet. And here's the part: there were once many crescents, which were used by Dagon's forces to take the Battlespire during the Imperial Simulacrum. When the Emperor later reclaimed the ruined academy, the crescents were gathered up and destroyed all but one. Wasteful, give them to your new battle mages.
Right.
But unknown to the Empire, one of the unique blades remained in existence somewhere in Tamriel, although none have ever seen it. I super want them to do more with that.
This could be an item they add to ESO.
I love that thing. It looks awesome. It sounds pretty cool too, that it's like, oh man, it does heavy damage, but also like disintegrates armor and stuff. It just seems like there's so many cool things they could do with it. And it's very unique looking.
Yeah. So I have one major question here is, do you hold it with the blades facing outward?
I think, yes.
Behind you? Like, do you use it as like a slicing thing where it goes with the curve, or do you use it as a poking thing where you want the ends of the blade to hit first?
My guess is, since the pommel in the middle there looks rounded, I almost wonder if you can flip it depending upon scenario.
Yeah.
Like one for a defensive stance, one for an offensive stance, because if it's curved towards you, you could probably swipe away strikes very easily. Where if you're on the offense, you flip it out and it's almost like a claw hook type of thing, and you can dig into your opponents. Either way, very, very cool looking. Love that weapon. Please do more with it, Elder Scrolls Online. Just because even if it's just like enemies having it and using it as kind of like a generic enemy type of thing, it's such a unique blade. I think it's really cool and underutilized.
Right. Yeah. They don't have like a current, weapon type that this would match with. If you wanted to equip it yourself.
It's not really a spear. Not that the series has spears anymore.
But it's
either.
not a staff. You couldn't hold it really like a staff. You couldn't hold it like a two-handed sword. That would look dumb. Plus, the bottom would come back towards your crotch. That would be dangerous.
What do you call it? The picture of it also on the UESP, that's from that artwork is from the Elder Scrolls Legends. That's actually the card art.
And that's why it looks like cool card.
I used to always try to attach that to any of my troops because it just gave you like +2 damage to them or whatever.
Oh, cool.
You could just toss it on your other cards.
Yeah. And to respond to chat, that's why it looks like something from an ESO store, is because it's a modern or more updated version of the drawing.
It's not pixelated.
It's not pixelated. It looks like it's like a very well designed piece of artwork for it. Yeah.
If you want a very quick version of it, which is also more art that I love, if you, as much as the redeeming qualities of Battlespire are kind of limited, in my opinion, it's not without any merit. I think the
Battlespire one, I can pull this up right here.
Yeah, the Battlespire cover.
The cover.
She's holding the Dark Seducer on the cover is holding a Daedric Crescent.
Yeah, so here's the Daedric Crescent.
It's also in the corners of the screen. There are crescents on the menu.
Yeah.
Yes, your cursor is actually a modified little crescent.
Oh, that's cool.
It seemed like they intended to go a lot further with it than they might have. But
it's an item that just got lost in the history of everything. Yeah.
But yeah, the cover art is a Dark Seducer actually holding up a Daedric Crescent. And the thing about that, which is interesting, is because that is actually a still frame from one of the FMVs. She like does like a little war cry after like murdering the Imperial battle mages in the Spire or whatever.
Yeah, I'm looking at the art for the Battlespire cover, and this totally is.
It totally is. I absolutely. It's
let me put this on the screen for everybody.
I absolutely love that thing. So.
Yeah, this cover art is cool. Like these games,
the cover art is fantastic.
We're badass.
Yes, there are definitely a few things that Battlespire does very, very right. And its vibe, it's just so creepy. It's just like eerie, and like, the cover art really kind of shows it. But yes, she has a Daedric crescent, and I love that thing. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yep. All right, so that's all the artifacts. I think we already covered the realm. We've covered pretty much everything else, all the major stuff. Any other thoughts before we get into some of the fun little trivia bits and the voice actors?
No, I think we could probably go into the trivia bits without, because again, we don't want to belabor every point imaginable. There's a lot to Dagon.
There's a lot.
I think that's a good covering of some of the same way we've been doing stuff with the other princes. Yeah.
So this is cool. The name Dagon is actually reminiscent of the Mesopotamian and ancient Canaanite deity Dagon, who was a real world, like, ancient god, which is pretty cool when you have a character in a game that's pulled from an ancient god, especially one that isn't super well known. Oftentimes games will pull stuff like that from like Hindu myths and like all of that kind of stuff, but this one not as well known. The Dagon in there's a Hebrew version of it here there's a Wikipedia article about it. There's Sumerian. We know the Sumerian, like the cuneiform, like those little notches that they use for the cuneiform. We know his name from ancient Sumerian. Phoenician was an ancient god worshipped in ancient Syria across the middle of the Euphrates, with primary temples located in Tutul and Turka. These are ancient sites. Though many attestations of his cult come from cities such as Mari and Emar as well. The settlements situated in the upper Euphrates area, he was regarded as the father of gods, similar to the Mesopotamian Enlil or Hurrian Kamarbi. I don't know if you guys are familiar with any of those, but father of gods. Pretty freaking cool, right? So we have that connection, but then we also have the connection to the short story Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft, none other than H.P. Lovecraft. And we know that there's a lot of H.P. Lovecraft influences in characters like Hermaeus Mora. Well, you also have one here from H.P. Lovecraft because there was a specific short story named Dagon. So that's kind of cool. Let's see. And this is also a funny little note here is that, and this is something we've talked about before, visually, the design of Mehrunes Dagon has gotten more red over time. He started a little bit more fleshy toned, right?
And he's actually kind of just looks like Goro from Mortal Kombat.
Right. That's where I'm going. Is that in the late 90s or mid to late 90s when he was originally designed, he may have been influenced by the Goro design in Mortal Kombat because it was such a popular game.
Yeah, if you go on the UESB, you can click the GIF of Mehrunes Dagon, and it's literally his little breathing animation, which is what he does when he talks. He literally just looks like Goro getting ready to fight from Mortal Kombat. It's really funny.
Yeah, kind of funny. I don't know how much of an actual influence that had, or if it was just kind of a subconscious design choice.
Very coincidental, though.
Yeah. And then, like I noticed before at the beginning of the episode, there have been two different voice actors, or at least two different voice actors in the modern games, in Morrowind and then in Skyrim. Originally, it was voiced by Jeff Baker, and then more recently has been voiced by Victor Rader Wexler. Jeff Baker is not super prolific. Some of these voice actors that we talk about have lots of different roles. They do a lot of acting and actual full body acting, and then also voice acting. He was also Jeff Baker. His IMDb page kind of trickles out around 2011, and then he's got a 2019 where he was a character in a TV series. But he was in some of the Fallout games. Paladin Jensen, Officer Davis, Brother Gerard in Fallout 3 Broken Steel, Fallout 3 Stanley Armstrong, Hannibal Hamlin, Sergeant RL3. He's done a lot of these different voices. This is interesting. In the Shivering Isles expansion, Elder Scrolls 4 Shivering Isles, he was Haskell.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Haskell. And then let's see. In Blood Moon, he was Onjaj, Fox Carius, Senis Lucius. He did a number of these different voices. And then Tribunal, King Hlalu Halseth, Gavis Drin, Fedris Hlur. And in Morrowind, he was not only Mehrunes Dagon, but he also was the voice of Sheogorath. We've talked about, I probably brought him up before years ago, but and then Dagoth himself. He did the voices for both of those.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. And then there's Victor Rader Wexler, who's the more recent voice actor, and he's got a much more longer list of things. His most recent role, according to IMDb, is that he was Frederick Estes from The Boss Baby, Get That Baby short.
Great.
Which is hilarious to me. So but he's done a number of these other voices. But in Skyrim, he was only Mehrunes Dagon. He's not credited with any of the other voices in that game at all.
Oh, interesting.
So just that by itself. But he seems to do a bunch of like cartoons and some other TV series and things. So that's very interesting, actually. Yeah. So I think that's most of what we wanted to cover for Mehrunes Dagon. There's so much more. Is there something else you wanted to add?
There's one last thing without going too long on stuff. Because again, like we said, there's a lot more we could still cover, but this will go on and on. The only thing that I do want to note, because it's so funny and it kind of I found it very funny at least, but it ties into our running joke of trying to pronounce anything in this series.
Right.
So we had mentioned all of the names to Mehrunes Dagon at the start of the show, like we usually do, all of his titles and stuff like that. But the only thing I wanted to bring up, which I really, really wanted to have, I tried saying this on my playthrough of Battlespire, but one of the thing I had mentioned with the Sword of the Moonreaver is one of the things in which you use to gain power over Daedra, at least earlier in the series. It's not really a thing they've done too much recently, although they do make a little nod to it at the end of Blackwood, is knowing the Daedra's true name. Yeah. Which is a combination of its protonymic, its original name, and its neonymic, its new given name type of thing. And that's one of your goals in Elder Scrolls Legend Battlespire. You want to give a shot at pronouncing what they are?
Oh my God. Okay. So this is one of those other things that's listed in here. And these,
it is. And we kind of glossed over it. And I wanted to save it till the end because I remember they never, they don't say it. You respond to it in game. So I tried to say it on stream, and everybody's like, "That was the worst thing I've ever heard a human try to say."
All right, I'll give it a try. The protonymic is easier. It's Lechkeloga, Lehkelogah.
Yeah.
The neonymic is Jekalaho Debe Efehezepa.
Beautiful.
I think I actually did that pretty well.
I think that was very good.
Dekaleho, Djehkeleho. Okay. Then dash Debe, Dehbe dash Efehezepe. It sounds like a little kid just making up words.
Yes.
And that's spelled Effehezepeh. Yep. Nailed it. Totally nailed it. Can you imagine if that was your name?
Well,
Lord Dagon. No, I am Lord Jekalaga.
Well, and nowadays games, kind of are nice to you and respect you a little more in some ways.
Right.
And in Battlespire, I made a grievous error as when I was learning these names. What I didn't realize was I was going to be quizzed on it later. And I didn't write this down. And they're like, yeah, respond to getting this door open with his proto-mimic. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, let go. I was like, how the hell do I remember how to spell let go?
Back in the old days, the games came with huge boxes, and sometimes in the boxes they'd even put like a pad of paper with like a cool design on
to
it,
take notes,
because they knew that you would need to take notes and maybe even sketch out the map as you were going places. Yeah, they don't do that in games anymore.
They do not. But yeah, that was the last little thing I specifically wanted to make sure we get in, because I thought I just got a kick out of the names originally, and we always joke about how hard it is to pronounce some of this stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I figured that was a good closer.
That is a good closer. Yeah. And if you would like to try to pronounce it and send us a recording, we might put that on a future episode of the show. Lotus, man, this has been awesome. Chat, thank you for being here. Do you have anything you want to share before we head out?
No, I was going to say, just excited for all the High Isle stuff. I actually figured for anybody who's chilling on the live stream, I posted this on my Twitter, but my very cool High Isle hype statue of the Ascended Lord arrived, and it's very cool. It weighs a ton. You can use it as a weapon if anyone breaks into your house. And it's funny because I haven't taken it off, but we had joked about who uses letter openers nowadays.
Right. Yeah.
His sword is no joke. It's actually wrapped because it's a legitimate miniature sword.
Oh wow! Like you can cut yourself on it.
It's wrapped in plastic. Yeah, you would. Yeah, it's like the tip of it is mine is legitimately pretty sharp at the end.
Crazy stuff. That's funny.
So they weren't kidding.
That's funny. I know you guys missed an episode of the Tales of Tamriel this last week.
Yeah, we didn't record last week. We actually had Dave from the UESP on the week before.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, which was a great chat. If anybody's interested in hearing from the founder and I guess you'd call him owner of the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, Dave, who is a super great guy and gave us some insight to the history of the UESP as a whole. That was a lot of fun. But then I was away last week, and the news lull has kind of been there because, again, High Isle, the new chapter, launches for PC this coming week. So we figured, okay, well, there hasn't been a lot happening. I'm MIA. So Ark was like, well, I'm not going to just do a show solo about basically news, just being like, hey, be excited. So we'll be recording again this week for everybody that's interested in that.
Well, good. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys are coming back. And I know you're going to have a lot to talk about.
Very excited.
I brought this up last week with our patrons, but the idea of maybe putting together a card game, because of the card game that's coming in the new expansion.
Yes.
But doing like a card game tournament might be really fun.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Like our community, people who listen to our shows, like all that kind of. And Rob the Princess said that he might be happy to help out with that, to like organize it. But if we could get create like a tier. I'm sure there's a website somewhere where you can create like brackets, right? And then
I'm sure you could
put everybody into the brackets, and then we could even do it in a way where everyone just chips in a very basic amount of like either real world money or in-game.
Yeah, like 10K money? Gold or something. And
like 10K gold
with
each.
A bunch of people, you could get like $100,000 or something.
Right. And if like, let's say, I mean, who knows, maybe there's 50 people who we have two brackets of like 25 and then the winner at the end. And then the winner might make out with like 200,000 gold or something, like something crazy.
Chunk of gold. That'd be fun.
For first place, and then a little bit less for second place. Something like that could be really fun. Rob says, I forgot I volunteered, but I'm still down. Rob, that would be awesome. Perfect. If you want to just do a little bit of research about how to create a bracket, if there's like a free app somewhere we can use to do that.
Well, especially because the card game, once you unlock it, it's really not about like you can get more decks, but since the decks are combined with yours and your opponent, it's a fair
Absolutely fair.
Like it's a fair play field is what I mean.
Yeah.
So maybe you won't have a grotesque advantage if you play a ton and it's just like, I have all the cards. That's not how this game works from my understanding, which I will say is limited, and I'm bad at it, at least from PTS.
Right. Yeah. So maybe we give it a few weeks. We'll let people get some practice in, and then we put together a thing where people can kind of sign up on the Discord or whatever, and then we just set a time and place, and
I'd totally join for that.
Maybe it runs a week, and we're just like, all right, you two need to get together. Here's your game names.
Just do your bracket. Like
sometime at the end of the week, let us know who won, and then we update those brackets, and then the next week we do the next ones, and then just kind of go from there and see what happens.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, so that's a thing that could happen. I've got all my shows, robotsradio.net for my shows and everything else that's going on. The Lord of the Rings Lorecast is up to episode 15 coming out on Monday. And it's been getting such awesome reviews. People are saying the nicest things. Like things like, this is my favorite podcast ever. Like ridiculous praise.
People love the Lord of the Rings, so
yeah.
It seems like having a Lorecast is like perfect for that type of environment, as it's very similar to what we do here on Elder Scrolls Lorecast.
Yeah, and I've taken, since it's not me and another person like we do this show, it's just me. It's more of a narrative kind of story. Where I'm kind of taking them through the paces while also plugging in little bits of details I know about, like Tolkien's life and some of the symbolism and some of the references in the works and all these other things. So I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job with it. So if you guys are into the Lord of the Rings stuff, especially if you're gearing up to understand how things happened at the beginning of the world and through like the first age before we get to the Amazon series, which comes out in like September, I think.
Something like that.
That takes place in the second age. The Lord of the Rings, the story of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit take place in the third age. So if you're looking to kind of gear up on some of your back knowledge about stuff, definitely go check out the show. It'll help you get up to speed. But that's what I got going on. Of course, all the regular stuff and then all the other Rocket Club shows at robotsradio.net if you're looking for other shows to listen to. We'll be back next week with another Daedric Prince, and probably we'll have spent some time in the new High Isle expansion as well. So maybe we'll chime in about that a little bit. But thanks for being here, everybody. Chat, thank you for being here live. Really appreciate you guys and love the comments during the show. We'll see you next week. Until then, stay safe out there. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Have a good one.
Thanks for joining us. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach me on Twitter at robots_radio or Lotus of Doom at Lotus of Doom. Also, you can join us on the Robots Radio Discord channel. You can easily just search Robots Radio Discord on Google or check the description underneath the podcast. Also, this podcast is recorded live every week on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on the Robots Radio channels on Twitch, YouTube, and on Facebook. So just search Robots Radio on any of those platforms. Come join us. We'd love to chat with you while we record the show, or before or after. Either way, just come hang out with us. And if you're looking for more information about my shows and the shows on the Robots Radio Network, go to robotsradio.net for all the information about all the shows on the network, including the Robots Radio Rocket Club, where I help both new and existing podcasters to grow their shows, build their audiences, and create the best podcasts they possibly can. All of that at robotsradio.net. We'll see you next time.